everyone, and welcome back to EdTech Classroom. For today's tech tip, I'm going to be showing you how to use Google Jamboard. Now, today's video is very much going to be a basic introduction on how to use some of the key features of Google Jamboard. Now, if you've never used this tech tool before, I have a feeling you're really going to like it. It has so many practical applications for teachers and for students. But before we get started, I want to give you guys a couple of ideas on how you can actually use this tool in your classroom, both in person and online. Jamboard, like I said, has just so many great practical applications. It can be used for exit ticket activities. It can be used for social emotional check-ins. I've seen really great ways that math teachers specifically have been able to use Jamboard as a way to teach math digitally. The way I like to think of Jamboard in my mind is that it's basically a digital whiteboard for you to interact with, but also for students. So today's video is going to focus on how you can use Jamboard as a collaborative tool. So how students can collaborate with you and with each other. But Jamboard is also a tool that students can use, for one-on-one, for them to submit their assignments. So for example, in Google Classroom, there is an option for students to actually submit a Jamboard activity. So if your students do have Google Drive accounts, they are able to create their own Jamboard. So that is something that I want to point out before we start the tech tutorial part of today's video. But like I said, I'm really going to be focusing on the idea of Jamboard as being a collaboration tool because I think it can be really great for brainstorming, design thinking, sticky note style discussion. So without further ado, let's get started. So you'll see that I'm on jamboard.google.com here, and it's a completely blank page. But in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll notice that there's a big orange plus sign. To create a new jam or a new file in Jamboard, you're going to want to click on that orange plus sign. So when I click on it, it'll create a blank jam file for me to start editing. Now, the first thing we're going to do in the top left-hand corner, it says Untitled Jam. So I'm going to first give this activity a title. So if I go over here and I click, you'll see that I'm now able to rename the file. So this is going to be a digital citizenship activity. So that is what I'm going to title this jam. Now I'll press OK. And now I'm going to walk you through some of the key features of Google Jamboard. If we take a look here at the top, there's some menu options here, as well as on the left-hand side. So to start off, looking at the background. Now, as you might guess, the background button actually allows you to change the background. So let's take a look here. Jamboard comes with a couple of different options. So first, we have just this plain white background here, which to me sort of reminds me of a physical whiteboard. Like I said, Jamboard, I kind of like to think of it in my head as a digital whiteboard. So I have this plain white background option here. We also have these dots. We have some lined paper. We have some graphing paper. So this is a really great tool, like I said, for math teachers. We also have a blue and a black chalkboard background. But for today, just for today's activity, I'm going to just use the plain white background because I think it makes the most sense for the activity that we're going to be doing today. All right, now on the left-hand side here, you'll see that there's a bunch of different features. So first we have the pen tool, then we have the eraser tool, the select tool, the sticky note tool, the image tool, the shape tool, a text box, and a laser. So I'm just going to walk us through each of these tools one by one. I'm going to show you their features, how they work, and we're going to start creating an activity. So the top here for the pen tool, again, as you might imagine, this allows you to write. Now, if you use a Mac or a computer like me, you might find it a little bit tricky to actually be able to write using the pen tool. Unless you're some sort of really skilled at using your computer mouse, you might have some difficulty. This is, however, a lot easier to use on an iPad or a tablet using your finger. So that is a helpful tool, especially for students. But for me, I find this pen tool to be a little bit tricky, but it is an option that you have in Jamboard. Now, if I click on it again, you'll see that there are some more options. So this pen tool right now is on, kind of what reminds me of like a ballpoint pen, but there's also some other choices. So you have a marker, a highlighter, a paintbrush, as well as some different colors to choose from. So for example, if I click on blue and I pick the highlighter, you'll see it more closely resembles a highlighter. Now that I've made these little scribbles, I've decided I think I want to erase them. I don't want anything on my screen. So the way that you can erase things in Jamboard is you have two different options. So first, you can click on the button that says Clear Frame. Now the Clear Frame button here is going to erase everything that you have on your screen. If I undo that here, Let's say that I want to just erase part of this. I like what I have. I like some of these scribbles and I just want to erase a little bit. I can click on this eraser tool here and I can just erase the portion that I'd like to erase. Now, the way that I was drawing and the way that I'm erasing, basically the way that you do that is you click and you hold down and drag your mouse or your trackpad. So now I'm going to click clear frame again because I just want this to be blank. And here's the select tool. I'm not going to show you how to use that one right now, but basically the way it works is it's just you can move things around, but I'll show you that in a little bit. Now, Jamboard is probably the most commonly known for its sticky note feature. Like I said in the introduction of this video, Jamboard can be a really great brainstorming tool. It can be really great for design thinking and any sort of sticky note style activity that you like to do with your students. So if I click on the sticky note option here, you'll see that it gives me the option to create a sticky note. So as a teacher, this can be a great place for you to put a prompt or the title of the activity, any sort of information that you think might be important for students, like directions. So for example, I might write something like prompt. What does it mean to be a good digital citizen? Now, the idea behind this activity is that I'm going to have a prompt and I want students to create their own sticky note and respond to this prompt here. So I might also add some directions. So I could say something like, use a sticky note, type your name, and add a response. Now, when I'm done, I can click this save button. Just so you guys know, also, there are some other colors that you can choose from. I'm just going to stick with this sticky note yellow, but there are some other colors that you can choose from. So I'll click on save, and you'll see that now my prompt has been created. Now, to drag this around, you'll notice when I clicked on it, it automatically switched me over here to the selection tool. So like I said, the selection tool really allows you to move things around. So I can now resize this sticky note, make it bigger by clicking on one of these circles here. You can click and drag to make it much bigger. You can kind of center it if I'd like. Now you'll notice when I click on this tool again, there is these little 3 dots in the top right-hand corner. Now, whenever you see these 3 dots, it typically means that it's a menu that you can click on. So if I click on it here, you'll see that there are some options for me. First, I can edit the sticky note. So let's say I decide I want to change my prompt. I can do that by clicking the edit button. Let's say I want to make a copy of it. I can do that by pressing duplicate, and I can also delete it. Now you'll see that this order button here is actually grayed out because I only have one sticky note on here. I can't actually change the order, but if I had multiple different things going on, I would be able to adjust the order by clicking on this button here. So now when I click out to the side, you'll see that my sticky note is ready to go. Now next, after we take a look at the sticky note, you can go down to this add image. Now what's really cool about Google Jamboard is that you can upload any sort of image to add onto here. So if you're a visual arts teacher, for example, you could upload a picture of artwork and have students respond to that artwork by using the different sticky notes, for example. Or if you are a math teacher, you could upload a picture of a math problem and have students use the pen tool to actually work through that problem. So there's a bunch of different applications for why you might want to actually upload an image. First here, under this upload section, it says that I can drag an image here, or if you prefer, select files from your device. So what this option means is that if I have an image on my computer already saved that I want to upload, I can do that here by either dragging and dropping or clicking on this blue button that says select files from your device. But if you're like me and you started creating this activity, but you're kind of trying to figure out what kind of image you want, you don't have one yet, but you have an idea in your mind, you can click on this button that says Google Image Search. Now you might have noticed that this is a possibility in other Google tools. I think it's a really handy, nice feature. You really never have to leave Jamboard. You can do all of your searching within the actual tool, which I think is just a really nice, helpful, time-saving feature. So if I click on Google Image Search here, I can actually type in and search for an image. So like I said, this activity is about digital citizenship. So I could always type in something like digital citizen. Okay, cool. Now I can look through and I can find an image that I like. I think I like this second one here, so I'm just going to click on it. You'll see that now it has a blue border around it and a blue check, which means it's selected. Now I can click the select button and it uploaded to my Jam file. So now to resize this, again, you'll click on one of the blue circles in the corner and just drag to make it smaller. I can move it around. I can click on these three dots to duplicate, delete, or order. Now you'll see that I can change the order. Like I said, now that I have more than one thing on here, I can actually change the order. But I think it looks pretty good. So next I'm going to show you how to use the shape tool. So we just did the image tool, and now I'm going to show you how to use the shape tool. If I click on this here, you'll see that there are some options that you can choose from. There's a circle, a square, triangle, etc. And so, for example, let's say I wanted to do some sort of mind mapping activity where I wanted to, have a thought in the center and be able to connect my ideas. This arrow tool is a really great way to do that. So for example, if I click on the arrow and I just drag and create my arrow here, you'll see that it's been created for me. Now what I can do is I can change the color by clicking on this paint bucket tool, or I can change the border color by clicking on the border color tool. So let's say I want to make it blue, but let's say I want there to be an arrow going from this prompt to the image. To do that, I would just click on this in the top left-hand corner. There is another one of those blue circles, but it has a little double arrow on it. I can click on it and I can turn it to actually change the direction of the arrow. So that's kind of a helpful trick. So you'll see, hopefully this can help you sort of envision how Jamboard can be really great for mind mapping, or if you wanted to be able to connect different ideas. But for now, I'm just going to delete this arrow. I was just kind of showing you how that works, and I'll move this image back. Now next we have the text box tool. That's to create a text box. And lastly, the laser tool. Now, like I've been saying over and over again, Jamboard really is a digital whiteboard. So if you're live teaching, this laser tool can be a really helpful way for you to actually point things out to students. So for example, if I click on it, let's say I want to tell students, okay, let's first take a look at the prompt. I can click and I can drag around to actually point specifically to this prompt. So if you're using Jamboard in a whiteboard type way, this can be a really nice way for you to point out and highlight specific information to students without actually drawing on the screen. So of course I could take the pen tool and I could circle it, but what's nice about the laser feature is that it doesn't actually leave any marks. So I do really like the laser feature when live teaching with students. Now, like I said, the intention of this activity here is really for students to actually be able to respond. So let's say on Zoom or in person, I've given a lesson with my students. I taught them about digital citizenship, what it means to be a good digital citizen. And now I want my students to respond to this prompt as sort of like an exit ticket type activity. What I can do is I can actually share this file with my students. So if you notice in the top right-hand corner here, there's a big blue button that says share. Now in most, all Google online files, you'll notice that there's a big button in the top right corner that says share. This one works very similarly. So if I click on the share button, you'll see that I can type in email addresses, I can type in a group, or I can also go down here to this feature that says get link. So if I click on this change to anyone with a link, this means that anyone on the internet with this link is able to view this file. Now, if I wanted, I can change it to editor so that anyone on the internet could edit this file. Now, there's pros and cons to two different approaches here. First, you could share this file with students with the students' actual email addresses. That would be one way that you could share this with students. Now, another way, if you're live teaching on Zoom, for example, or Google Meet, you could also do this little trick where you can change it so that anyone on the internet with this link can edit. Now, the way that this works is that students don't actually need to have a Google Drive account in order to be able to edit this file. So if your school is not a G Suite for Education school, you can still use Google Jamboard, even if your students don't have a Google Drive account. So that is a really nice feature to this anyone with a link here. But as a teacher, even though at my school, we do all have Google accounts, I just find that this is a really helpful way that you can just drop the link in the chat and students can immediately start responding. Now, after the activity is over, you can make this link private. Now, of course, there are cons to that. There is the possibility that someone outside of your class could access this link, but you'll notice that the link at the top is very, very long, and it would be pretty tricky for someone to actually guess that URL. Now, I'm not advising you to necessarily do this, but this is just a strategy that has worked for me when teaching using Jamboard. Another thing to point out is that you can assign Jamboard activities through Google Classroom. So if you do have Google Classroom, you can assign this to students more easily than just typing in their email addresses. Now that I'm ready to go, I'm going to press the Done button. So now when I drop this link in the chat, or if I send it to students during class, or whatever it might be, students have the ability to start editing. So what a student can do, for example, let's say I'm a student in my class and I want to respond to this prompt. I'll read the directions. It says use a sticky note, type your name, and add a response. So I'll go over here to the sticky note button, and maybe I'll change my color. And I'll say, okay, my name is Maddie. And being a digital citizen means I am safe, responsible, and respectful online. Now I'll click the Save button, and you'll see that my response has been posted. See, it's right here. Now, just like the teacher can do, just like I showed you a few minutes ago, I can click on this and drag it around. I can resize it, and I can put it wherever I'd like. So now if I'm another student in my class, I could add another response, so on and so forth. And so you can have as many students as you'd like collaborating on this at once. Now, it is important to keep in mind that there are some pitfalls when it comes to Jamboard. Number one, students' names aren't attached to sticky notes, which is why in my directions I said type your name. Now, I know that this is something that frustrates a lot of teachers, that you can't actually know whose sticky note belongs to who. But like I said, I still think it's a really great sort of check-in activity that you can do with students to test for understanding. So that's why in my directions I have type your name. So you'll see that if a student follows the directions, you still will know who the sticky note belongs to. But that is one possible pitfall of Google Jamboard. Now, another pitfall of Google Jamboard is that students have the ability to edit each other's responses. Now, since the example I'm providing you all with right now is about digital citizenship, I do think that Jamboard is a really great way to help teach students about digital citizenship skills. I think this can be a great opportunity for you to have a conversation with students about how they shouldn't be deleting each other's work, they shouldn't be editing each other's work. So I would say if you're doing some sort of collaborative activity on Jamboard, don't make it a super high stakes activity. Make it something that you're just sort of trying to check in with students. Again, if you're doing full class collaboration on Jamboard, like the idea with this activity here. So again, another pitfall of Jamboard. I know that, telling students to not edit something, a lot of kids will still do it anyways, but that is one idea that I've come up with on how you can sort of avoid that being a problem with Google Jamboard. Now, another way that you can, prevent something like this from happening would be to create a page or a frame for every student in your class. Now, this might be a little bit time consuming up front, but it can sort of make it so that each student has their own area. Now, of course, they could go to somebody else's page to edit it, but they do have their own specific designated area, which can kind of make it easier for you to keep track of whose response belongs to who. So the way that you would create more than one frame here is you could do that by clicking up here at the top. You'll see that it says 1 out of 1, meaning that there's only one frame here, 1 out of 1. To add another frame, you'll click on this arrow right here. So I'll click on it, and now you'll see it says 2 out of 2 because I'm on the second frame out of 2. So as a teacher, I could do something like create a text box up here, and I could say this is where Maddie's response goes. Now I could create another page, and I could say that this is where Jesse's response goes, etc. But again, students do have the ability to edit each other's work, so that is still something that you would want to keep in mind. Now, like I said in the introduction of this video, you can still use Google Jamboard in ways that aren't collaborative. So if you did want students to have their own copy, you could actually create this file, force students to make a copy so they each have their own individual Jamboard. Now, one way you could do this is by assigning the activity through Google Classroom and clicking on the option that says make a copy for every student, or you could actually do the handy trick of force copying by going up to the URL here, pressing copy, And now every student who has this new URL is forced to make a copy. The pitfall with that, though, is that students would then need to share the file with you so that you could actually view their responses, which is kind of why Google Classroom is a really helpful tool to use if you are using Google a lot. But if you don't have Google Classroom, don't worry at all. I still think that students can use Jamboard, have their own file, and it still be a really effective activity for you to do with students. Okay, a few more things I want to show you before we finish off this tutorial video. If you look up here by the share button, there's another one of those drop-down menus. If I click on it, you'll see that there are some more things I can do with my file here. So first we have rename. So let's say I decided I want to rename this file. I could do that here by clicking the rename button. I could also download this as a PDF. So let's say I really loved my students' responses and I want to save this as a PDF. I can also save this frame as an image. So for example, if instead of doing a PDF, if I actually wanted to save this as an image, as a JPEG file, I could click on this button here that says Save Frame as Image. Now you can also remove to delete, and you can make a copy. So let's say I wanted to redo this exact same activity with a different class. You teach multiple different classes or grade levels or whatever. You could do that by clicking on this button that says Make a Copy. Thank you so much for watching today's tech video. I hope you enjoyed learning about how to use Google Jamboard. Now this was very much, a basic introduction to Google Jamboard. Of course, if you are interested in learning more about how Jamboard works, more of the really cool features or applications and ideas for how you can use it in your classroom, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd really love to hear what you guys are looking for. And if there's another tech tool that you want me to do a tutorial video on, please let me know. You can let me know in the comments down below, or you can DM me on Instagram at edtechclass. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Give me a thumbs up on this video, and I'll see you back here soon. Bye, friends.